Every gilded cage is built with walls of comfort. The only question is what you're paying for them.
All right, let's jump right in. You've probably seen the terms NESARA or GESARA popping up online and wondered, what on earth is that? Well, today we're going down that very rabbit hole, starting with what was once a simple economic proposal that spiraled into one of the biggest, most complex conspiracy theories out there.
Here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the documented facts, where this thing actually came from. Then, we'll get into how that simple idea supposedly became a secret, suppressed law. From there, we'll unpack the alleged pyramid of power that's hiding it all, the mind-bending tools they supposedly use to control us, and finally, we'll hit the deepest level, one that makes you question reality itself.
So, before we get into all the wild stuff, let's plant our feet on solid ground. Let's talk about the verifiable history, the actual origin story of NESARA. Where'd this whole thing even begin?
And this is probably the most crucial thing to get from the start. NESARA didn't begin as a law. It wasn't even a bill in Congress. It was just one man's idea. A guy named Harvey Francis Barnard came up with his own personal vision for how to fix the American economy. And his ideas, they were pretty radical. He was convinced that debt was the single biggest problem holding the economy back. In fact, he actually called compound interest a moral evil. His solution? A complete and total overhaul. Get rid of the income tax, go back to a currency that's actually backed by gold and silver, and somehow hit 0% inflation. And right here, this is where the official, factual story pretty much ends. Barnard sent his plan to Congress, and crickets. It went nowhere. It was never debated, never voted on, and it never became law. It was just a proposal from a private citizen. But, and this is a huge but, this is exactly where the other story begins. So, you gotta ask, right? If the original idea was a total non-starter, how did it become this massive, global belief system? Well, this is where we take a sharp turn into the conspiracy. Everything hinges on this one single claim from an internet personality who went by Dove of Oneness. The story is that NESARA was secretly passed by Congress, that President Clinton actually signed it into law. And get this, it was supposedly scheduled to be announced to the entire world on September 11, 2001, but was buried forever in the chaos of that day. And the idea didn't stop at the US border. Oh no, it went global, morphing into GESARA, the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act. Followers believe this is the worldwide version of the plan, a global debt jubilee, a total economic reset for all of humanity that's being kept under wraps. So let's follow that thought. If this world-changing law really exists, who in the world could be powerful enough to keep it a secret? According to the theory, it's not just one government. It's a massive, hidden network of global control.
You've heard the names, I'm sure. The New World Order, the Illuminati, the global elite. The theory says these are all just different labels for the same thing, a massive, unified power structure, a shadow government, really, that's pulling all the strings to create a one-world government and have total control.
And you can kind of think of it like a pyramid. At the very, very top, you have these super secretive groups like the Illuminati. Then, in the layers below, you find powerful bloodlines, old religious orders, groups like the Freemasons, all the way down to the more public groups you might have heard of, like the Bilderberg Group. The idea is that they're all working together.
That number, 13, is absolutely central to this worldview. It all comes back to the 13 families theory. This is the belief that just a handful of specific, interconnected families have secretly been the true rulers of the world for centuries, passing power down through their bloodlines.
And yep, you guessed it, the sources always name the same families. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts. So how do they supposedly keep control? Well, it's all about controlling the money. Think central banks like the Federal Reserve, and keeping power concentrated through things like strategic marriages.
Okay, but money and politics can only go so far, right? How could a tiny group of people control billions of us? Well, the theory argues that the real control isn't about what's in your wallet, it's about what's in your head. We're talking sophisticated psychological warfare here.
Two key methods are always brought up. The first one is called problem reaction solution. It's pretty simple. You secretly create a problem, say a financial crash, the public reacts with fear and demands a solution, and then you swoop in with the solution you wanted all along, one that always gives you more control.
The second is predictive programming. This one's way more subtle. You basically plant ideas and concepts in movies and TV shows. That way when they happen in real life, we're already used to the idea and just kind of accept it.
It all comes down to this core concept of hiding in plain sight. I mean, think about it. The sheer amount of media we consume every day is the perfect cover. The theory is that secret plans, symbols, messages, they're all embedded in blockbuster movies and hit songs, totally hidden in all the noise.
And proponents will point to tons of examples where fiction just seems to become reality. Like Jules Verne imagining submarines long before they were real, or how Star Trek's communicators look almost exactly like the flip phones we all had. And of course, you've got endless analysis of shows like The Simpsons for all of its bizarrely accurate predictions of future events.
And believers say it's not all just speculation about TV shows. They point to real history as evidence. Operation Mockingbird, for instance, is the alleged name of a real CIA program from decades ago. For believers, this is the smoking gun. It's proof that intelligence agencies have a history of trying to manipulate the news.
Okay, you might want to buckle up for this next part because we are now at the final layer. The NESARA rabbit hole doesn't stop with a secret law or a shadow government. No, at its absolute deepest level, it starts to question everything we think we know about the world around us.
This is a really profound concept. It's called the consciousness quarantine. The theory suggests that all of our minds are actually connected on some subconscious level, like a shared mental network. The powers that be are supposedly working overtime to suppress this connection, to keep us quarantined from each other. Because if we all had a sudden mass awakening and realized our connection, their whole system of control would just shatter.
And this idea plugs right into the simulation hypothesis. What if none of this is real? What if it's all an incredibly advanced simulation? People point to weird things in quantum physics, like the observer effect, where particles only seem to become real when we look at them, kind of like a video game only rendering the graphics you can see. In this view, even our obsession with creating AI is just a simulation trying to recreate itself. So here's the bottom line. According to this worldview, the entire control system, from bearing NESARA to manipulating the media, is all designed to do one thing: to hide the reality keys. These are supposedly the fundamental truths about our consciousness and the nature of reality itself. And if humanity ever figured them out, we'd be totally free.
And this quote just perfectly captures the mindset at the bottom of this rabbit hole. It's a call to question every institution, every story, every single thing we've ever been taught, and to operate from the premise that it could all be part of a massive, purposeful lie. So, we started with a simple economic plan, and we ended by questioning the nature of reality itself. It leaves us with a really critical question for the world we live in today. When we are surrounded by so many carefully engineered stories, how do we decide what's believable? What are the reality keys to our own understanding?